Welcome to the Woodturning Workshop. Oh no, he's back in the kitchen again. Well, I'm preparing a very fancy dish, and that brings us up to today's project, a mortar and pestle, a really handy item to have in the kitchen. And this one's made from Claro walnut and ebony. It's going to be a great project. Well, I'm actually cooking for the dog. That's the only way Melinda lets me in the kitchen anymore. Well, but stay tuned.
The Woodturning Workshop is made possible in part by
Woodcraft since 1928, providing traditional and modern woodworking tools and supplies to generations of craftsmen. Woodcraft, helping you make wood work.
TORMEK, water-cooled sharpeners with innovative jigs and setting devices. Getting your sharpening done quickly gets you back to the job at hand. TORMEK, sharpening innovation.
Well, we have a little bit of time before I have to feed Hagen. I'm caramelizing and reducing down his beef broth for the topping on his food. So we're going to go ahead and make our project in between feeding him. I'm using walnut today, which is actually kind of an unusual wood to use for a mortar and pestle because walnut's just a little bit soft. But we're going to beef it up by putting an ebony insert inside, and then we're going to make the pestle out of ebony. Now normally you'd want to make a mortar and pestle have a heavy dense wood like olive wood or lignum vitae, but those can be fairly pricey, and this was laying around the shop so it's not costing me anything today. Well, all we're going to need is 3 pieces of wood. We're going to need a 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch by 6 inch blank of ebony for the pestle. We're going to need about a 3 inch blank. I've already reduced it down to almost 2.5 inches by taking it to the bandsaw, and about 3/4 inch thick piece of ebony. And then we're going to need a 4 inch by 4 inch by about 5 inch piece of walnut. And this is actually Claro walnut. It has a beautiful grain, really is a neat looking wood. It's really remarkable. Well, the first thing I want to do is to grab some double-sided turning tape, and we're going to put it on the back of the ebony because I don't want to waste any of this wood. And make sure that you use tape that is intended for wood turning because it has a much stronger adhesive on it than some of the other double-sided tapes out there. So we're going to take this over to the lathe, turn the lathe on, and I already mounted a chuck on here, and it has a piece of waste wood in the jaws. And I want to just take my parting tool, and remember, protect your eyes at all times. Spin this, make sure nothing is hitting. And I'm going to just clean up the face of the waste block so it's perfectly flat. There we go. Now the reason it has to be perfectly flat is that I need this tape to have a good flat surface to adhere to. Now I'm going to take and pull the back side off of my two-sided tape, but wait a second, if I just push that up there, I've already kind of cut this down to almost the 2.5 inches I need. If I misplace it anywhere along here, when I turn it, I won't have enough wood to make the disc I need to make. So one neat thing is I have a magnetic tip in my live center, and I have my compass point that I use to draw out the circle on the wood before I took it to the bandsaw. And I can take this point, feel around, it drops into that hole. So now I'm centered. We'll bring the tailstock up a little bit further, lock it down, and then I'll crank this in, and I'm going to be perfectly centered on that blank, and I'm not going to waste any of that precious ebony. And now, even though this isn't glue, I'm going to let this hold for about 1 minute to 2 minutes, and it'll make a much stronger bond with that glue block. Okay, today we'll be using a roughing gouge, a regular spindle gouge, a shallow detail spindle gouge, a round nose scraper, a parting tool, a carbide ring hollowing tool, a Jacob's chuck, and a set of calipers. Well, I'm going to have to change out tool rests because I can't get this one close enough to the work So I'm going to switch to an itty bitty short one. And that way, I'll set this up a little bit below center height. I can slide in a lot closer to the work, and that's a much safer way to approach this. Now, what I'm making is the insert for the mortar, and I'm going to be making it to where it'll fit inside of a hole I'm going to drill. I'm going to drill a 2.5 inch hole with a Forstner bit. So I want to bring this down to exactly 2.5 inches, so I'm going to use my calipers and get them on here. And you can see there's my size right there. I'm actually going to leave them just a little bit proud because I don't want to make this too small because, as you know, you can't put wood back on. So let's get this off the top of the lathe in case something happens. Put my eyes on. And parting tool. Okay, there we go. Spin this real quick, make sure nothing hits. I still have my tailstock up for safety right now because even though it's a good grip with that double stick tape, I'm hitting a really rough edge here. As I round this down, that could put forces that way, which could pop the tape loose. Let's get this messy part out of the way real quick. Okay, now I want to start a groove here. Bring my calipers up. Make sure you have them on the part you're cutting, or you could really mess up your measurement here. And it's jumping a little bit because there's a flat edge still. Here we go. Okay, that's barely fit over. Now I want to come into the middle here and do the same thing. Okay, and then come here to where the tape bond is, do the same thing. And now I'm just going to get rid of the extra wood and make it level or flush with the other parts of the turning. Okay, now it's time to check this. I measured it with the calipers and it's 2.5 inches, but I can't really be sure that it's perfect. So, that tip works beautifully, doesn't it? Well, I got myself a little bitty gauge here. I took some scrap wood, I took my drill, and I drilled a hole so it fits perfectly, right? Well, my goal is to see if this will fit perfectly over my disc. So let's take it and place it on and slide it on a little bit. You can see we're really close. It's a very nice tight fit. I don't want to push it on too hard or it won't come back off. There we go. So I need to take just a little bit more wood off right here. So let me bring my tool rest back up. And now you're going to see how strong this tape bond is, because I don't need to bring the tailstock up for this bit because I'm just taking off a little bit of wood. So we're just going to take some almost like little feathers of wood off. Now I'm just doing a scraping cut here with my parting tool. So let's go ahead and test this out. Let that stop, bring this on. Oh, we are so close, we are so close. You want to take a little time on this step because if it doesn't fit perfectly or really close, you'll have a big ugly gap in the bottom of your mortar. So let's do this again, let's take a little bit more off. Okay, let that stop. Move my tool rest out to be safe. There we go, it's on there perfectly now. It's bottoming out in the hole. So there we go, see how nice and tight that is? Okay, now, nice thing about this block of wood, it's gonna help me break that tape joint. Really strong joint, isn't it?
How are you gonna get that out?
Oh no.
Jeez.
Wait a minute. That works. No, it doesn't.
Go.
Oh no. Oh, we're going to have to hold another show on how to get this out. Oh man. Drill press? We didn't plan this. When I made my first one, this thing popped in and out nicely. It was a beautiful fit. Well, I made a really good fit, so we've been discussing off camera, Brian and I, how to get this out of here. So our best bet, we think, is with the bandsaw. So we're going to try to cut really close to that and hopefully relieve some of the pressure on that disc without cutting the disc. Come in nice and close. There we go. Okay, and I'll probably have to make another cut. Get that out of the way. Oh, we can see the disc now. I think we're there. I hope this works. There we go. It's coming. Hey, that's pretty slick. It's almost like I know what it's doing. Okay, we have our piece of Claro walnut mounted between centers. We're going to rough it out and we'll start making this mortar shape. It's a very nice traditional shape. And you know, here on the Woodturning Workshop we make a lot of traditional items, but there's a whole nother world of wood turning out there. And recently I was at the American Association of Woodturners Symposium and met a remarkable artist, Louise Hibbert. Her work is based off plankton, microscopic life, and she uses mixed media. Sometimes you can't even tell it's wood, but her work is outstanding. When you look at it, it just really gets you thinking about whole lots of different ideas. Well, I actually had a chance to pick her brain and pick her favorites from the Woodturning Symposium. Well, Louise has started us off with a basic shape that an artist has taken further than that, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've liked Jacques' work for a long time, and looking around the instant gallery, his work just stood out a mile to me. This is definitely my favorite of all of the work. And he's taken a sphere, such a simple object, but he's added so much to it, and the quality of the piece is just wonderful.
Well, the detail's incredible. It looks like it actually is a natural object and it's occurred by nature and processed rather than somebody making it.
That's right. I mean, these pieces could have been like this one. Looks like an alien object, really, like some sort of alien weapon, and it's just incredible.
The patience that it involves is amazing.
Right, and although you lose the wood because he's actually painted the entire surface, it still has that warm quality that the wood gives everything. And this could be ceramic, but it makes it so much nicer that it's wood when you pick it up, because it has this more organic quality. You know, ceramics is very cold, and this, although you have the grey, as soon as you pick it up, you really feel that there's more of a vibrancy to it because it's a living object.
So now we're moving away from almost pure turning with a little decoration to some turning, but more sculptural work, right?
That's right. Yeah, this piece was interesting to me because the artist Satoshi is from Japan, and you can see this piece has a completely different cultural influence on it, and the form and shapes to it is just so different from what you see in Britain and America. And then when you pick it up, you get this wonderful surprise that the whole piece is actually hollowed out, which is just a nice extra. But it's wonderfully organic, and I love the contrast between the natural wood and the burnt segment.
Now you also want to emphasize to people, though, that you don't have to think that far out of the box. If you enjoy doing something simple, do that, right? Do what you love. That's right.
This is, to me, this is a piece that really stood out to me within the instant gallery, just because it's a beautifully made salad bowl, and this shows that you don't have to get complicated to still make a beautiful piece of work.
Right.
And Dale Larson, who made this, is just such a skilled turner, and the form and everything is really beautiful, and the choice of wood and the orientation, and just the simple detail of the rim just tilting inwards slightly, the slight undercut. It's very subtle, but if there are any imperfections with this bowl, you'd see it, and there aren't any, and that's what's so amazing about it. I think this work is just as important as anything else that's happening in the field at the moment to keep these skills alive. And it's important to get these skills before moving on to doing more interesting work as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, that's something I really enjoy about the Woodturning Workshop, is getting to feature other turners' work. It really opens up your eyes to a whole new world. Well, I have this roughed out now, and I want to cut a tenon on here because we're going to hold this in my chuck. So we're going to use my little bedan tool that I've ground to fit the bevel on the inside of my chuck. Now we're almost there. Let me get my calipers. And I've got my calipers set to the inside diameter of my chuck. There we go. We know that'll fit. So, let's take this off the lathe. And we're going to switch over to our chuck. Get my knockout bar. And take out our drive center. Okay. Now we're holding this in the chuck because we're going to be doing some hollowing and some drilling to the piece. Because we've got to drill a hole, remember, to put the ebony inset in. So I'm not going to need my tailstock anymore. Oh, weightlifting 101. And when I put this on, you can see how the dovetail jaws on here mesh perfectly with that dovetail I made there, and gives you a nice, tight, sturdy fit. So I want to start shaping the pestle, the mortar. I keep getting those mixed up. So our mortar is going to sit like this right here. So I just want to start removing some of the wood now and start shaping the lip and move my own way on down. This is about 3.5 inches in diameter. And I don't want to go too much, I don't want to go really any narrower than that right now, because I've got to leave enough diameter to it so when I drill the hole, my walls are thick enough to work as a nice strong mortar. Now remember, no matter how nice a job you do when you remount or reverse a piece of wood, it's going to be a little bit out of round, so I want to make a nice clean cut here to clean things up. And I want to lay out the shape in a minute right turn here. So that's the lip. It's a little bit less than 1 inch. There's going to be the narrowest part, and probably the foot will be about like that. So those marks will help me out as I start shaping this. I want to grab my parting tool and just clean up the edge, make it nice and straight. Now I really don't need the whole thing straight, I just need enough of it that's going to be the lip. So I'm going to come here and bring this in about 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. And that'll delineate where I drop off on the lip here. Now I want a little curve, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my parting tool and just roll it over and make my bead. That looks good. Now, this is going to be the deeper part. We'll just part some of that out real quick. Move the wood quickly. And you notice I'm making a release cut there so I don't get the tool caught. Now back to our big, wide spindle gouge. And we're just going to start working on the curve of the mortar. Now it's just a flat presentation. You start rolling, and the bevel of the tool tells you what direction you're going in. And since this has, like I said, a nice standard grind to it, and it's a big wide blade, it's very gentle, very easy to control. Now I want to remove this wood down here on the sides. And so you can use it just about like a roughing gouge. Okay, looking good. You can always come back and pick up your cut if you mess up. I do that quite a lot. Now I want to remove a little bit of the, or reduce actually, the foot with my parting tool, because I don't want it to be as wide as the piece, but it still has to be a fair width, about 2/3 of the width of the piece, because you're going to be pushing down on this when you're grinding stuff in it. So you don't want it to be too narrow. You've got to have some stability. Okay, and I'm going to do a parting down right here, which is going to go beneath the foot so I have an edge established. Now, I want to dish out this shape here, so I'm going to need my detail spindle gouge for that, which is a really nice, dramatic tool. It has a nice tip on it. It helps you make really cool, sharp angles and cuts. So we'll clean off this edge here a little bit, and we'll start shaping the foot in that cove. So here's a critical cut. If I take this and hold it flat, Now it's going in, I'm making a nice cut. I roll the tool just a little bit. I'm cleaning up that edge there I did with the parting tool because that's going to be a little bit rough. And I'll just come in here and sweep and turn as I go. Whoops, got a catch there. That's a design modification. I actually touched this edge like that. See how that's catching? Not a good thing to do, but easy to fix. You just come back, clean that up. It's looking better. And do a little pull cut, and I've rounded that edge off. I think we actually have the shape where we want it. Okay, we're ready to drill that 2.5 inch hole. I've got my Forstner bit mounted in my tailstock with the Jacob's chuck. And we're going to go in very slowly at a low speed because that's a lot of wood to move out. And you can see I have a depth gauge already marked on here. I know how deep I want to go. And you're going to get a bit of smoke with this because it is moving. Let me turn that down just a little bit more. That'll help. So you're moving a lot of wood so you can stall your lathe out if you don't take it easy. Okay, we're going to drill for a little while, and then we got one more hole. This is a little bitty hole I'm drilling, and it goes all the way through the bottom of the piece. Now I'm using my ring cutter to just relieve the inside of the mortar just a little bit because I don't want to have to jam fit our ebony blank all the way down in there. Clean that out, make sure it's good. We're going to take some wood glue and just slather it on here. Be messy as you want. You see it's really pouring out, huh? It really doesn't take a lot though. So anyway, we'll just spread that around our fingers and get nice and messy. You can always clean it up later, it's easy to do. I want a good bond here. So, we're going to take this and slide it into the wood. Now, what I have to do, before I get glue all over everything, gonna bring our tailstock up. Now, why did I drill that tiny hole all the way through the wood? Well, I didn't do that on the first one I made, and when I started forcing this in with my tailstock, there was nowhere for the excess glue to go, so it really was tough getting it to jam in there. But by doing this, I can get the jam fit all the way into the bottom and make a very, very nice, tight seal. And then once that's set up and dried, we can go ahead and start hollowing out the inside of our mortar. Sounds like Hagen's getting hungry. I better hurry. Now once my glue's set up, I use my little Carbide ring cutter to shape the inside a bit, and now I'm using my round nose bowl scraper to go in and make a nice co-shape inside of the mortar so the pestle will have a little dished out area to work in. And once I get this done, all I have to do is sand it and part it off the lathe. Well, I've already rounded out my piece of ebony between centers. I want to mark the end here. I want it far enough away from that point so that I don't have a point in the bottom of my pestle. So I'm going to take my parting tool and bring this down to the narrowest part of the neck and bring this down to where I want that little knob on the top. And now I'm just going to start working with my large spindle gouge to just gently shape the whole length of the pestle. Okay, I got the handle shaped the way I wanted. I'm just finishing the end here, nice and round, so it'll fit inside that curved bottom on the mortar. And then all I'm going to do is sand it down to 320 grit and part it off. We're ready to put a finish on this puppy. Well, since this is going to be used in the kitchen, I'm going to put my favorite kitchen safe finish mineral oil, and I'm just gooping it in there. I want to roll this around and get it on there really nicely and just get it saturated. Okay, now, remember the bottom where I had that hole drilled through there? I simply put in a tiny purple heart dowel for a nice touch. Well, anyway, we're just going to go ahead and keep gooping this on here, get it to saturate in there, and then buff it all off, and we're ready to put it in the kitchen. So I think we had a great project today. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time on the Woodturning Workshop, keep turning. Ooh, I knew I forgot something. Hagen, come here. I got your breakfast for you. There you go. What? Oh man, I forgot the parsley. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll get it for you, honest. What? Okay.
The Woodturning Workshop is made possible in part by
Woodcraft, since 1928, providing traditional and modern woodworking tools and supplies to generations of craftsmen. Woodcraft, helping you make wood work.
TORMEK, water-cooled sharpeners with innovative jigs and setting devices. Getting your sharpening done quickly gets you back to the job at hand. TORMEK, sharpening innovation.
next time on the Woodturning Workshop.
Well, we have our buddy Bob Fulton to thank for today's project because he came by my shop the other day and said, I've been working on this. I can't figure it out, so you go ahead and do it. So we're going to make a bird. Let's come back here and remove a little bit extra. Part this off. And then I'm going to put the head on here, put the beak in here, and then just mess around with it till I get a nice little artistic pose.
For more information about the Woodturning Workshop, visit our website at rsupublictv.org.
I think I have a whole new brand of pink tools ready. Never, ever put your air hose next to the grinder. Oh, man. That's not a bad job. You're good.
To purchase a copy of this program, please call 1-800-823-7210 or visit our website, rsupublictv.org.
This week on the Woodturning Workshop, oh no, he's back in the kitchen again. Well, it's to cook for the dog, actually. And that brings us to our project, though, a beautiful mortar and pestle. And the bevel of the tool tells you what direction you're going in. This is a little bitty hole I'm drilling. Come here, I got your breakfast for you. There you go. What? Oh man, I forgot the parsley.